I'm back where I started. Nowhere to go but up.
It seems as though there's a pattern in the blood flow. That can't be natural. No lesions, no trauma. He was bled by magic. No known associates. In fact, he seemed quite averse to spending time with the others.
What a well of knowledge this tome is. Dallas is such a dear lending it to me.
I'll need to write to headquarters right away.
Empty.
My, these smelling salts are strong stuff.
No indications of a struggle.
Why, you're looking a bit more chipper. Yes. Looks like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself. There you are. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash. In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest, and he's the chap in charge of the logs. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters. Don't you dare! If you violate the virtue of my carpet, I'll do a good thing worse and put a collar around your neck.
Index fingers pressed to her lips, she pauses a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was a bit too generous with that sedative. Oh, well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is that we're en route to Fort Joy. A new life awaits, and if you're a particularly good girl, perhaps a cure as well. An end to Sauce. For good. Why, for my peace of mind, of course. Why don't you try casting one of those Sauce spells of yours? See what happens.
Currents of magic surge inside you, boiling, bursting, then breaking, only to fade back into your soul like rain into the earth.
My, look at the concentration on your face. All will, but no There you have it. See? The collar's function. It neuters you of sorts. Makes you unable to cast Sauce. For your own peace of mind, of course. Yours and the whole world's.
It seems as though there's a pattern in the blood flow. That can't be natural.
Everything's spick and span. Nothing left to do, really.
Good gods!
No lesion.
There's
no trauma.
There's been a murder here.
It was bled by magic.
A young magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass. Behind the magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles. You can't make out a face amid the mess.
It seems as though there's a pattern in the blood flow. That can't be natural.
Easy now. You're paling me arse. Why don't you move along? Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does. Hands to yourself, bloody sorcerer.
No lesions, no trauma. It was bled by magic.
Nothing to see here.
My, these smelling salts are strong stuff. You've been collared and you've been told why. They're...
Good gods! There's been a murder.
A young magister stands pale and silent.
Quite averse to spending time with the others.
Behind the magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles.
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting your collar fitted at the time, or you'd be a suspect like the rest of them. Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does. It's a small ship. His name was Finn. Oddball. Looked to me like he saw something he wished he hadn't. Before we'll find out who did it.
Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwalker followed the source that did this. Finn didn't see it like that. He was desperate for us to help him. Two things scared the living daylights out of him. His own shadow and his own source. We'll find out who did this. Speaking of...
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You were asleep the whole time. Didn't even stir. You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course. Finn was killed by Source. If a Magister could do that, there wouldn't be a Magister. It looks more like a passenger managed to slip their collar. And the rest, well, you see the evidence in front of you. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open among the passengers. Sometimes they clam up in front of a uniform. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that? Thanks. I just want to catch whoever did this before they hurt anyone else. No known associates. In fact, he seemed quite averse to spending time with the others. But who? I'm not suited for this. It's sea cow, not sea sheep. Haven't got any shoes, have you? People these days.
Saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
I know you. I heard you sing once. Before. Out there. Wow.
You are Jill, aren't you?
I ain't saying nothing.
Hey! I know who you are. You're a singer. My mum likes you. Wow! You look cool. I like your hair. I like your eyes. I like your colour. I have one too.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
You! Sorcerer! Blood? No! Go! Oof.
You think me mad?
Mad?
Name?
Insufferable, surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
The Divine Order wants to know. I don't like comedy. Well, you aren't here on my list. Scrammy. We're trying to catch a killer here.
We've always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
Here's the register, ma'am. Good, good. Magister Williams has just about done with the last passenger. You faring okay so far? Glad to hear it. You head on in now. Williams will get you sorted fast.
We just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up.
The elf is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He looks up, his big round eyes scanning your body, absorbing every detail. He reaches out and takes your hand, turning it this way and that, examining it from every angle. Finally, he pinches your skin, gently tugging at it.
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen more appetizing things.
Fascinating.
Stricken pigs.
He sits back and returns to his book, flicking quickly from page to page, completely oblivious to your presence.
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend to do away with the custom.
Well, there has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magister's more concern than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing.
It is simultaneously too detailed and insufficient. I know the beginning of this tale and the end, but I am rather missing the middle. Tell me, what do you know of our world's history?
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't
Most unusual. And if it's not too rude to suggest, not much of an answer. No. I want to know about the Celestial. I want to know about your gods. This text tells me that they created all creatures, but nothing of what came before. Where did these gods come from? Who are their people? Where are the others of their kind?
More appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
There's nothing else I can make, Your Majesty.
Of course you don't have any useful information. Why did I expect anything else? Now please, run along. I have a world to decipher.
Well, there has been a murder.
No amount of pestering will get the elf to take his eyes off his book or respond to your questions.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
That
Boring.
right? I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Nest. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with it.
It was one of them. I know it.
Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
You think me mad?
I spent my life singing for my slaves to bring me my supper. Finer fare than boiled roots and rotten tubers, too. Meanwhile, the Magisters feast on honeyed meat behind this very wall. The indignity.
Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
Well, well. What have we here? A fresh face in this stale hell. Let's size you up, shall we? See if you'll do.
The lizard looks you up and down, like a farmer would a fetching horse. All of a sudden, he grips you firmly by the chin, with the intent of inspecting your teeth.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
You think me mad?
Mad?
There's some discoloration, but I've seen worse. After all, one can't expect to find prime merchandise on a squalid little ship like this. Now then, to business. You will answer me 3 questions. The first one is this. Can you cook? Ah, music to my beleaguered stomach. On to the second question. Can you knit, weave? In short, tailor?
This wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right.
Oh, but to feel the caress of satin on my scarlet skin once more. A most satisfactory answer indeed. On then to my final query. Have you the ability to administer the upkeep of one's personal appearance? The delicate art of cosmetics is what I'm after.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one. The very basics, then. I suppose that's a start. So, 3 questions asked, 3 questions answered. Let's evaluate, shall we? As per your own testimony, you can cook, tailor, and groom. Well, that just about settles it. I offer you my sincerest congratulations. As of now, you are my slave.
right. I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Nest. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
My slave, of course. Oh, but I see. Yes, I suppose it must take some time for the full extent of this honor to sink in. Anyway, you may leave me for a moment. We'll go over your duties once we reach Fort Joy. Now shoot!
Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
Woof! Woof woof!
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
You think me mad?
Mad?
You one of them? A divine order loyal? They killed a sorcerer, you know. They'll hide the evidence well enough, but make no mistake.
That right. I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben
A
Nest.
broad dwarf sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, Ghetto. You hear that?
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
The ship, of course.
Turnips and water.
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor to ceiling, the boom, crash and crackle of...
And?
Well, there has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magister's more concerned than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
Sick as a leper's cat. From the state of it, I'd say she's being cared for by a bunch of beardless babes who never loved anyone but their own mums. But there's more. Listen close. There now, just like that.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here...
Squeak! Aha!
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back. The other catches you before you lose your footing.
There, you heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, Ghetto. Good news.
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend to do away with...
No, you beautiful idiot. That wasn't any rat. It was the wheel. Squeaks whenever the helmsman jerks it clockwise, which means we're heading east. Burn my beard. That means if we've been travelling for... Yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy.
You, Jill, is that right? I've a few questions for you. You are Jill, aren't you?
Captain, actually. And that figure tells me we're getting close to the Joy. Close to what...
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily. His eyes roll over to you.
That'll be all, thank ye kindly, Ghetto.
Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
He continues stroking his beard, a beatific smile on his lips, and doesn't acknowledge you anymore.
It was one of them. I know it.
Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
An elf sits tucked away in a dark spot, lazily rolling dice onto the surface of a barrel. They sound like the dry cackling of an old witch.
Mad? Insufferable, surely.
Snake eyes.
She chuckles.
I bet that's just what they'll look like.
She shakes her head.
Game for one, I'm afraid. Rolling dice. Deciding fates. Don't worry, honey. It isn't yours.
She looks you up and down with the merest hint of a coy smile on her lips.
Never say never, though.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own.
She eyes you quite seriously.
Not the future, no. But I can read the past in flesh. One of the perks of being an elf, you see. I'm quite good at it, too.
Insufferable.
I could lick your arm and tell you how you spent the night before last. Shall I?
If you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
She gives your arm a vigorous stroke of the tongue, efficient like a cat grooming.
You were in a cellar with other sorcerers. A dark, dank place. I remember it well. As everyone lay sleeping, you sat in the dark with wakeful eyes, looking rather lovingly at... me! Huh. My, aren't you a pretty cup full of sugar and spice?
She pats you on the shoulder consolingly.
There, don't you worry, darling. Your secret's safe with me. I don't lick and tell.
It was one of them. I know it.
Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own.
I'm busy watching for clues, sorcerer. Go take your sub-story somewhere else.
But I reassure you and you shut up.
A scruffy man lounges against the wall with scarred arms folded. A sly smile playing on his face, he stares across at the Magister guarding him. Noticing you, he straightens and beckons for you to come closer.
Watch your back, new fish. There's a murderer on board, and I'd bet 3 months' pay it's this tramp Ifan.
Rolling his eyes at the Magister's warning, the man named Ifan beckons again. He leans in and adjusts your collar with a sharp tug, balancing its weight so it no longer presses unpleasantly on your neck. He winks.
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend to do away with the custom.
There has been a murder.
Pinches less that way, right?
Hocking a phlegmy gobbet in your general direction, the sullen Magister settles back to his task of glowering at Ifan. And now, you.
We used to know each other, more's the pity. I was his commander many, many, many moons ago. Isn't that right, Vic?
Standing far back from Ifan, the tight-faced Magister draws one finger across his throat in an elaborate fashion, but says nothing. Ifan grins, flashing pointed white teeth.
Same as he was at 14 years old. Only difference is somebody gave him a bigger sword and now he's Johnny Big Pants. Long story. Maybe I'll tell you about it in the Joy. Away from interested parties. No. The dead man, Finn, is it? I'd no business with him. And I wouldn't put a man down without good reason.
He glances over at Magister Victor, who's staring back at him with pointed intensity.
There has been a murder.
Damn shame sheer annoyance isn't reason enough.
The Magister's more concerned than your appetite.
The Joy, I've heard a lot. Nothing good. No surprise there, since Bishop Alexander runs the show. Wonder if we'll get to meet the ringmaster himself. Easy now. I might think the same, but Vic here will blow a blood vessel if he hears you talking like that.
What are you conspiring about over there? You! What's your name?
Oh, don't mind him. Vic's just got a bee in his bonnet. And that bee...
Name!
Magister Victor looks at you suspiciously, then scrawls something illegible down in a tiny notebook. He scowls at you as he stows the notebook back in his voluminous robes.
Away with you, at once.
Ifan performs an elaborate pantomime of keeping quiet, one finger in front of his lips as he leans back against the wall.
I ain't saying nothing.
What? Didn't make it clear the first time.
You better be ready to talk here.
I want to be like you when I'm big. A singer. Why don't you sing down here?
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
You think me mad?
Mad? No. Insufferable? Surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Keep those bolts trained on her, and if she tries to run, shoot to kill.
Standing at the center of the room, you spot a sorcerer haughtily eyeing a pair of nervous-looking magisters. They keep their crossbow trained upon her as she's being interrogated by an officer.
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella?
Yes, I did. But of course, that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you straight in the eye.
There are others whose lives must end.
Good God, the woman's mad. You there, sorcerer, go and fetch Magister Siwan. We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet.
It means your journey draws to a close. Do stick around for its finale, though, because...
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to create a scene.
Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts Source, the Voidwoken will come. They'll end us all.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
What's happened?